Good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you're from. It's Rod with Pow Group. Thanks again for joining us in the pursuit of wealth, everybody. We're going to get started with the live stream here momentarily. I see we have some people jumping on, so we'll give it another 30 seconds or so, another last minute stream. But going to be discussing Constellation Brands converting their common shares into exchangeable shares in this video. And let me know your thoughts and opinions on Canopy Growth stock movement today. What do you think was driving the momentum? Also, let us know where you're tuning in from. All right, let's get things kicked off. Going to be discussing Canopy Growth Corporation stock today and Constellation Brands. We knew that they already expressed their intent to convert their shares into exchangeable shares, so this wasn't really any new information. There was also some recycled news this morning that I saw with regards to Canopy and Canopy USA, the holdings company, being approved. They were just recycling the approval for a Monday, and it seemed like the stock was really manipulated today. It seemed like we had institutional buying at the beginning of the day and running it up, and then into the after hours seeing this news come out about Constellation Brands. Just, you have to wonder if it's all a show, right? Like, they must have planned this to rope everybody in and then scare everybody after hours, because a lot of people are thinking, oh, like, Canopy lost Constellation Brands as an investor, as a shareholder, right? So this is really confusing a lot of people, but this is all information that I've already discussed this in my previous videos about exchangeable shares. I said that Constellation Brands they already expressed their intent to do so, and they even talked about shaking up the board, which is all of what happened. So literally there's nothing new today that happened, unless there's something else that happened that I'm not privy to, but let me know in the comment section or in the live chat. But let's get things kicked off. So the stock was up about 33%, just under 33% from the high of the day today to the low of yesterday. And we'll discuss all of that. We'll take a look at the chart here in a moment as well, and we'll take a look at this news with Constellation Brands, and then also newly constituted board of directors. But again, all of this was to be expected, and we already knew all of this information. But before we get to it, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff. You'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. As always, this is not financial advice. You should never buy or sell anything based on anything that I say. And also, full disclosure, I do own Canopy Growth in my portfolio. You can also follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. And just a couple days away, 420. So happy 420 in advance. If you go to the community tab on the YouTube channel, scroll down, I'm giving away an annual membership to the Pow Group private community, and that is valued at $150. So you can check out the details there in celebration of 420, Germany and Florida. So jumping into the news, Canopy Growth announces CBI conversion to exchangeable shares and newly constituted board of directors. So conversion of Green Star promissory note into exchangeable shares further improves Canopy's balance sheet through the elimination of short-term debt and reduces overall debt balance by 100 million Canadian. So they announced today Green Star Canada Investment Limited and CBG Holdings, together with Green Star, each a wholly owned subsidiary of Constellation Brands, exchanged all 17,149,925 common shares in the capital of the company they collectively held for the same amount of exchangeable shares. So again, when they said issuing an unlimited amount of exchangeable shares, it just means 1 for 1, right? So they get common shares exchanged 1 for 1 into exchangeable shares for no consideration. As a result of the CBI exchange, the CBG group no longer holds any common shares. Each exchangeable share is convertible at the option of the holder, so they can convert it again anytime into one common share. The exchangeable shares are not traded on the public market. So there you go. That answers a lot of questions. A lot of people are saying it's going to trade on the NASDAQ. I was like, I can't see that making any sense. So no, it will not trade on the public market. Essentially, Canopy already mentioned that if you want to convert into exchangeable shares, you have to go to their website. There should be a form or a request, and then you transfer it to the transfer agent, right? And it represents an interest in Canopy Growth directly, not Canopy USA LLC, which is a private holdings company. This is another important step forward for the Canopy USA strategy following the recent and overwhelming approval of our shareholders to create the exchangeable class of shares, said David Klein, CEO. We look forward to maintaining and enduring a positive relationship with CBI as our largest shareholder and to the further advancement of Canopy USA strategy that this change enables as Canopy USA moves forward with the acquisitions of Wana, Jetty, and Acreage. As previously disclosed by the company on April 18, 2019, CBG, Greenstar, and Canopy Growth entered into a second amendment and restated investor rights agreement, pursuant to which CBG Group, among other things, was entitled to designate four nominees for election on appointment to the board of directors and the company, subject to certain conditions set out in the investor rights agreement. We'll go through a little bit quicker here. I'm not going to go through everything. So, Miss Schmeling, hilarious. Miss Schmeling had served as chair of the board and as member of the audit committee of the board, and Mr. Sabia had served as a member of the corporate governance, compensation, and nominating committee of the board. So, following CBI resignations, the board is now comprised of David Lazzarato, I think that's how you pronounce it, chair of the board. Some of these names are crazy. Member of the audit committee and member of CGCN committee, Willie Krah. What's up, Krah? Director and chair of audit committee, Teresa Yanofsky, director of CGCN committee and member of audit committee, and Luke Mongo, director and member of CGCN committee, and David Klein, CEO and director. So we'll go through. Yeah, this is all information that we were already privy, right? We already knew that they were going to more than likely convert them into exchangeable shares. We know it's not going to trade on the public market. And they mentioned that they were going to see the board of directors switched up, right? Because it's non-voting, you can't have a controlling interest. So you can't, if there's a dividend or anything like that, or any voting rights, you're not going to have that ability with the exchangeable shares, right? So this is all news that we already went over in the previous video on exchangeable shares, and Constellation came out with a press release here as well. So we'll go through. We are pleased to complete the conversion of our common share ownership interest in Canopy into exchangeable shares, said Bill Newlands, the CEO and president of Constellation. While we remain supportive of Canopy's strategy, this transaction is expected to eliminate the impact to our equity in earnings and is aligned to our intent to not deploy additional investment in Canopy, as we previously stated in our capital allocation priorities. So based on that line alone, I think a lot of people were like, oh, they're not investing in Canopy anymore. And then the stock was down. It was actually down to like $7.13 USD after hours, down about 10%. And from the low of yesterday, we were up almost 33% there to the low of yesterday to the high of the day today. But realistically, since the high of this bounce, from March 14th to the high of the bounce on April 4th, we went 320%. So again, if you go 100%, you need to expect a 10-20% pullback at least, right? And then if you go 300%, you need to expect 30 to 50% pullback. And then sure enough, where did we go? We went 47% down. So now, right off the 0.618, we started to bounce the golden pocket. And like I said, from the low to the high there, up about 33%. And we're still just expecting a daily lower high. We did confirm a daily downtrend with a lower high and a lower low. So we are expecting a lower high here on the daily time frame as the most likely scenario compared to 1085. So we could potentially come down to test that 0.786, but we'll take a look at the chart here in just a moment. But I think that's mostly what happened here after hours, is that a lot of people were kind of spooked by that, I think. But this is all information that we knew. They already said that they intended to exchange their common shares into exchangeable shares, which are exchangeable, right? They can always go back to common shares anytime they want. Prior to the completion of the transactions, I already mentioned that. That represented the common shares that they converted represented approximately 18.8% of issued and outstanding common shares after giving effect to the reverse stock split completed by Canopy in December 2023, and Greenstar also held the note. And it was calculated based on a price of $8.91 Canadian. All right. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's what spooked the market. A lot of people were saying, oh, Constellation Brands is done with Canopy. No, that's not. Again, this is all information that we knew. There was nothing new that came out today as far as I'm aware. I'm looking at all the news that came out today. Let me just take a look here. So Canopy and Aurora climb amid Safer Banking Act push. So we're starting to see more optimism with regards to that. People just trying to give a reason as to why they were up. But, we were pulled back almost 50% in like a week. So, it's just volatility picking up, right? We went up 320%, pulled back 50%, go up 320% in a couple weeks, pull back 50% in like a week. And then today, from yesterday, we bounced another 33%, right? So it's just volatility picking up, and then they have to give a reason as to why. But here it is here. This was this morning. Let's go through here. Where is it? Canopy Growth shares surge as shareholder vote paves way for expansion into the U.S. market. This was today at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. So it doesn't make any sense. They're trending upwards after the Ontario-based company shareholder approved a new class of shares that will enable its swift expansion into the U.S. market. We already knew this on Monday, and the stock went down. So let's bring up the chart here. So it came out on Monday, right, this week. And then after the news came out, we'll go Friday, actually. So from the low of the day on Friday to the low of the day yesterday, we were down 21%. So we went down 21% after we already knew that it was approved, right? And then they're just recycling that information, trying to get people bullish. And then came out with the news about Constellation after hours. So it's typical manipulation, in my opinion. But this is, again, that's just recycled information. We knew this on Monday. I did a video on it as well. What else do we got here? So then, yeah, they announced there's a ton of, and you can see how much they're pushing it too, right? Converted Green Star promissory note into exchangeable shares. And then a lot of people probably thought this was like dilution or something like that, right after hours. And then I think institutions were buying today and then FOMOing, getting retail to FOMO in, right? Everybody thought we're going to $5 or $4 again on CGC, USD. And then they run it up into the end of the day and then knew this information was going to come out after hours, more than likely. And then they sell off, right? And then retail gets the shaft once again. But yeah, Constellation Brands revamps Canopy Growth investment strategy. Again, this is all information that we already knew. And I mentioned to members in the POW Group private community, we had a very lengthy discussion in the POW Group private community, and it was a great conversation overall. And I mentioned that, CGC is gaining the MSO crowd's attention, so the multi-state operators, so MSO gang, so the producers in the U.S. is starting to gain their attention because most probably didn't see this coming. Like I've been saying for a while now that LPs are going to become MSOs and MSOs are going to become LPs. Shortly after making that video, Cureleaf acquired Northern Green Canada, a small Canadian operator, small but Canadian nonetheless. And then now Canopy USA approved and them executing their takeover of Jetty, Wana, and Acreage, right? So it's happening already right in front of our eyes. And we already knew because they already had the ability in that deal with Acreage, right? I said, the thing to remember now is that other Canadian companies can pull off a similar move to Canopy USA and kickstart their entry into the US. And also medical channels, if we get rescheduled into Schedule 3, medical channels will open up in the US as well, right? Germany, US next. Wouldn't be surprised if we started to see more mergers and acquisitions actually in anticipation of that, is what I said as well. Because if, we know that like Tilray has convertible debt in MedMen, but essentially all these other producers in Canada now have the blueprint, and Canopy has essentially paved the way on how they can use this novel structure to kickstart their entry into the US market, right? And then I mentioned also, the thing to remember is Canopy is still technically at 80 cents USD or 78 cents now after hours, or 72 cents after hours, because we're down another 7%, right? So technically, we're still below $1. And before the reverse split, everybody said, Canopy to zero. There was even that downgrade, $0, right? And now everybody just loves Canopy. It really is like however people are feeling in one particular situation or day or week or month or whatever the direction's going. If we're up 300%, oh, Canopy's the one knowing long term. Oh, Canopy's down 99% from all time. Oh, it's going to zero, right? And then a week later it goes up 320%, a couple weeks later. And then everybody's like, oh, switching everything over to Canopy. And then they get wrecked. We go down 50%. They get shafted again. And then we're up another 33% from the low of yesterday. What's going on? There we go. So if we go back in time, we're only at 72 cents on Canopy right now. We're not even above $1. And then Jeremy says, so you're saying Tilray could do Tilray USA? I was like, so you're saying there's a chance? But yes, why not? Why can't other LPs do a similar move, right? And then something else that I mentioned was that Acreage shareholders may be dumping their shares to buy Canopy because they're like, oh, Canopy's going to acquire Acreage, so people are just exchanging their shares, their Acreage shares, or selling it to buy Canopy or whatever. Also, again, the MSO gang kind of just barely. Everybody called, it's MSO gang for a reason. They think the Canadian companies are garbage, and everybody calls it Canopy garbage, right? But now they're like, oh, they're going to acquire Acreage. They're becoming an MSO, and now they love them because they're part of the MSO gang, right? That tribalistic nature. So not only that, but yeah, Acreage investors selling their shares probably just to buy Canopy. And then I said, what else did I say? I said most of this move was off of media hype and institutional buying when we hit the 0.618 fib. So look at 613 was the 618 fib retracement, and we hit 609. So we pretty much to the penny hit that, and that would have been a nice area. I said anywhere when we were back here at like 10, well, we got as high as 11.57. When we were at like 10 or 9, I said I think we're easily going to go down to around $6 or $5, and here we are. We almost went into the fives. So 609, I said not a bad idea to start scaling in around there. And sure enough, if you would have made an entry, again, not telling you to buy, sell, or hold, this is my own thoughts and opinions, but from there we went up another 33%, essentially 34%. So yeah, I said the article that we read today about Canopy had nothing new in it. It was just news that was recycled. And like I said, everything went down after as well, right? So we knew on Monday that the new class of shares was approved, and it went down 20% from the low of Friday. So in my opinion, it was, like I said, just taking advantage of retail emotions today. Acreage shareholders probably converting over to Canopy, MSO gang and crowd getting attention, right? Starting to get CGC attention, and the media pumping it all day long, just recycling information that wasn't new. And then, safe banking, okay, rescheduling hopes potentially, but Florida, there's been a lot of negative articles about that, saying that it's probably not going to pass, get the 60% required. I think it will. I think it's just FUD again, but yeah, I think it was mostly just, institutions buying. We were now down from the top there to the low. We were down about almost 50%, hitting the 0.618 fib there, so giving back about 61% of this whole move. But I mean, if you look from where we were on March 14th to the low here of yesterday, we're still up 120%, right? So it's all relative. And when in doubt, zoom out, right? But like I said, we are just expecting a daily lower high as the most likely scenario compared to 1085 and a daily downtrend with a lower high, lower low. So we're still in a daily downtrend, and more than likely just going to see a lower high as the most likely scenario. And actually, could this even be a bear flag? Yeah, we probably not expecting a bear flag at this point because we did bounce past the 0.382 fib. So at this point, we're just looking for the daily the daily lower high to form, and once that happens, it'll more than likely be marked by a loss of the hourly uptrend. So we have our low, high, higher low, and higher high. We're scouting another higher low, and if we come down and lose this, so key support in the short term is 641, and that's actually like a triple bottom there on the hourly time frame. But if we were to come down and form a lower high and lower low on the hourly time frame, then we would be confident as well in a potential daily lower high being set. So need to lose the hourly uptrend or confirm an hourly downtrend to indicate that our daily bounce is over and that we could be coming down closer to that $6 and $5 again. And then if we break above 1085, then daily downtrend is no longer intact. All right, what else? I did want to bring this up too. I posted today in the POW Group private community. We were just talking. I posted the investor psychology cycle, and I said I see a lot of depressed people and people in disbelief. I think we're somewhere, in between that depression and disbelief phase of the investor psychology cycle. I know this is a CGC video, but I just took Tilray's bar chart. This is February 2021 to the low here on Tilray and those blue bars, and I overlaid it with the investor psychology cycle. It's just like, okay, like how obvious, blatantly obvious is that this is just them. I've seen this movie before, right? And we can even kind of do something similar here with CGC. Just zoom out here, move this over. It might even be better on CGC, to be honest. So grab our bars pattern. Where is it? Here. So if we go from our high to the low there, try to make this a little smaller. Looks pretty similar, doesn't it? So I'd say that's our bottom right there. And I think CGC is just a little bit lagging because it's down more, right? So yeah, it's very same, right? Look at that. Very similar. And now we're starting that reversal. And now everybody thinks that, CGC is the one to be in when it's still technically under $1. It's at 72 cents, not factoring in the split, right? So it's seen this movie before. And, at the end of the day, you need to figure out, like, are you an investor? Are you a trader? Are you a long-term investor? Are you looking at like 1, 3, 5, 10 years? Are you looking at a catalyst who holding to the U.S. legalizes like me? All of this stuff, right? You need to get. I've seen a lot of people today, emotional people and angry people, frustrated people, depressed people, and anxious people, disbelief people, right? It's like people in disbelief. All of that, you have to keep your emotions in check and differentiating. That's why I say have a short-term account and a longer-term account. Your longer-term, that's your investment. You're just set and forget. You hold it. You're not selling at any point. You're just holding until an X number of years or until X number of catalysts happen. My long-term portfolio, I'm not selling any MJ shares in those portfolios, in that portfolio, until the U.S. legalizes at the federal level. In my short-term account, I'll take profit at certain, I'll dollar cost sell, right? So I'll take profit at certain levels, right? So on CGC, if we get back up to around $20 now, I might take, 10% off the table in my position. But, I'm pretty much not selling anytime soon on a lot of these names. So that's why having a shorter term account, if like day trading's fine, swing trading's fine, scalp trading, whatever you want to do. But don't confuse investing and trading, right? And it helps to have two separate accounts as well. All right, we'll jump into the chat real quick, trying to keep these live streams a little bit shorter. So hello, Jalamosi. What's up with the names? Not sure what you mean by that. Maybe what's up with the names? I'm not sure what you mean by that, if you can clarify. Do you see CGC getting back over $10 in the next 2 months? Yeah, it's possible. It probably needs some sort of news catalyst. From the low to the high here, we have pulled back to the 0.618, as I mentioned. So at this point, we could potentially see just a type of a tightening range. So we could be going sideways for the next several weeks. But I would say that if we get rescheduling news or some kind of safe banking, MJ banking, right? MJ banking is supposed to be tied to a crypto bill, legislate like some kind of stablecoin legislation potentially. So if we get that all approved at the same time, that'd be massively bullish. And if we start to see, big tech and some of these other names in the broader market start to top out, that money's going to rotate, in my opinion. And what better sector than the beaten down MJ sector that's been in a brutal 4-year bear market. And I think crypto, most of the alts will still see a lot of gains. So I think MJ and altcoins should be a nice area of rotation focus for some of these other names that more than likely going to be entering a multi-year bear market, specifically in the main, like Bitcoin and some of the main tech stocks, right? But yeah, anything's possible at this point. I think most likely scenarios we just tighten up in a tightening range. But yeah, if we get safe banking, if we get any kind of rescheduling news, it's going to be a while before we find out about Florida. So I don't think that's going to be a catalyst. I think the most likely near term one is rescheduling and then safe up MJ banking, right? But I think the most likely scenario is we just range for the next month or so or next couple of weeks. Realistically, like I said, we could see safe or rescheduling news at any time. Usually takes them about 6 months to do their scheduling review, and we're at around that mark right now. So Exactly. Manipulation 100%. I was thinking the same. I already knew that information. Yeah, exactly. But a lot of people didn't, right? Because most people don't actually follow it. And you've seen how many times they're pumping out articles today, right? It's to get the bullish articles, they pumped a few, and then the bearish ones, they pumped a lot, right? Because it had already ran 33% from the low of yesterday. And then they release that news after hours, scare everybody. Everybody thinks Constellation's getting at a Canopy, right? Like, it's just, and it's all information that we knew, right? So it's just people that don't know, that people that are just the herd that, is just following mainstream media. They're not actually putting in the time or watching POW videos, right? Can't all be awesome and watch POW videos all the time, right? Do you expect any big news for 420? It's hard to say. I mean, they're probably going to be like record sales and everything like that. So other than just, like numbers and things like that, record sales, I don't think so. But yeah, I'm still thinking that we could potentially see some sort of news with regards to rescheduling this month, but this month's getting close to over. Maybe it's a month or two. I can't see it being any more than a couple months after this, because we still have to go through that 60-day comment period, and I think they're going to want to get it done, even if it gets enacted later and after the elections or end of 2024, beginning of 2025. I think they'll want to get it done and the announcement out before the elections. It just wouldn't make any sense. And then, because like Biden administration and the Dems getting a lot of heat for not doing anything with their pro-MJ stance, and that's pretty much what got them in the Senate and in the White House in the first place, right? So I think they're going to want to come through on their promises, and we hear it at the tip of their tongue all the time, right? It's in their vocabulary all the time. It's a very big focus, and we're hearing, FDA chief says no reason for the DEA to stall and delay. So I mean, the writing's on the wall. 420 isn't an official holiday. A bunch of stoners came up with that. I wouldn't count on it. Yeah, I mean, it is a big part of the industry. Yeah, I agree, though. I don't think it's going to be anything massive, but we'll see. I think it's just going to be, I saw like $2 J's. They were doing like $2 pre-rolls and things like that in the U.S., which, a lot of these MSOs, they're used to like getting like $15 to $17 a gram, right? So that's eventually going to they're going to see price compression and price wars in the U.S. eventually as well. And yeah, Tilray and Canopy will combine. Tilray and Canopy will combine. Yeah, merger. You mean like merge? You mean? Yeah, I doubt it, but we'll see. Could be in the mega merger phase, blue chip phase, but that'd probably only be after the U.S. legalized at the federal level. Curious, why do you do the percentage measurement from the low of the previous day? Just to show the volatility, right? So the volatility is picking up, and it just goes to show you, like, if you were looking at, if you're a day trader or something like that, that was a key level there at the 0.618. You could have attempted to, let's say when we got to 613, you could have entered there with a stop just below. You have to be careful if you don't play after hours, and also stop losses don't trigger an aftermarket and extended hours pre-market. So you have to really be watching it. But you could have entered there, even at the beginning of the day today, the low of the day today, we hit 641, so you could have entered there with a stop below that and then look to play the daily bounce. I mean, we hadn't bounced in the daily time frame in a week, so, or you could have just entered on a break of 692. Once we broke 692, we were still up another 20%, right? So you could have entered on the daily bounce taking place. But yeah, no particular reason other than the fact just to show the volatility, right? We're up 320% in a couple of weeks, then in a week we go down, a little over a week we go down 50% almost, and then here we are up another 33%. But from the low there at March 14th to the low of yesterday, we're still up 120%, right? Hopefully that answers your question. I like to use percentage a lot more than just looking at price, right? Because again, if we factor in reverse split, Canopy's only at 72 cents, right? So how quickly people forget. And like I said, it's usually a more, like, you can compare any chart, any sector, any, thing. If you can chart it, you can compare previous cycles. And that's the whole reason why I posted this investor psychology cycle, because it's all the same, right? MJ's never going to be an Amazon market cap or valuation, right? We're never going to see the same market cap and valuation for MJ as we would, like a big tech company or, some of these crypto projects that are dealing with all the world's money, right? But in terms of percentages, right, you can easily see 50x gains or 100x gains or whatever, right? So it's better to always deal in percentages, in my opinion. Hello, all. Hello. Hello, hello. How about Tilray? What are your thoughts there, Rod? Any upswing from here? I think that it's a good candidate for some rotation potentially. We'll see here after this news with Constellation Brands into tomorrow if some of that capital rotates into Tilray. But Tilray all about 160. I had buy orders that triggered at 284 and 283, averaged it down big time when nobody wanted to touch CDC. I learned from you, Rod. Thanks, Jam Lewis. I appreciate it. Glad you made a great trade there. That's awesome. Yeah, 284, and like even from there, right? We're still at $7.20. So, I mean, you know, that's still really, really, really great return, right? But my pleasure. AYR 2, please. I'm just gonna try to keep it to CGC this video. I do have to get going here soon, and I'm trying to keep these live streams a little bit shorter and on topic. But we'll do that one next time, okay? I hope to win on 420 Clover. Yeah, you bet. Good luck, hopefully. I was watching all the day. Big buyers kept buying the dip. Yep, absolutely. Rod Rocks, thank you very much. The difficult names that you were reading and giggling about. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, those are some crazy names. Schmelling was my favorite. It almost like sounds punny, right? It's like, oh, MJ, smell, Schmelling. You smell what the Rock is cooking? Rumor of safe banking could pass 50 to 60%. What do you think? Will it happen first, safe, or Schedule 3? I think that there's a very good chance that it happens before the elections. This time definitely feels different. Obviously, cautiously optimistic is the going approach, but yeah, I think it's going to happen. And yeah, it's hard to say, right? Maybe they want to get the big banks and the Morgan Stanleys and the Goldman Sachs and the JP Morgan's position before rescheduling, and then uplist to the NYSE and the NASDAQ before that happens. That's possible as well. Plus, even if we do get rescheduling news, it's going to be 60-day comment period. It's going to be months after that before it even gets enacted. So maybe we get rescheduling news. It's hard to say. I think it's like a 50-50 chance, whichever one comes out first. But I was always saying that we get rescheduling, then a few months to get enacted, maybe into the end of the year, beginning of 2025, gets enacted. 280E goes away once it's enacted. And then we get safe banking, uplisting the NYSE and the NASDAQ as another catalyst, and then full-blown descheduling and legalization at the federal level in the U.S. That's what I've been thinking. But at this point, it's anybody's guess now that they came out with that crypto bill and MJ banking as well, a part of it potentially. So we'll see. I'd say it's, like I said, it's probably a toss-up there, 50-50%, whichever one happens first. But like I said, even if rescheduling news comes out, it doesn't mean it's actually rescheduled right then, right? It's going to take months before it actually gets enacted. Thanks for reminding us. Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Rod. Always love the videos. Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining the stream. Glad you enjoy it. Schmelling. Somebody contact Ron DeClown. He's schmelling everything out in the public in Florida. I'm going to do another video on that Ronald McDonald clown here in a little bit. But that guy just has to stop. Quit while you're ahead, bud. Thank you. You bet. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, but we're sitting at 7:29 here after hours. A little bit of a shorter stream today, so like I said, try to keep it a little bit shorter from now on. Sometimes when it drags on to almost an hour, yeah, people just they say that they would much rather it be shorter. So try to keep everybody kind of happy and happy medium. You attract all the cool and beautiful people, Rod. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. This too shall pass. All right, going to end it there. Hope everyone has a fantastic evening. If you're viewing this after the fact, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Continue the conversation there. I know this is off topic, but do you have any Jasmy coin? I've been watching for weeks. No, I don't have any. I'm not even familiar with what that is, Matthew. I'm not too sure, but wish you the best of luck with it. If I come across anything, I'll let you know. All right, have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you again on the next video.